Welcome to the History Curiosities channel. In this video, I'll be discussing some of the most curious events in history. From strange coincidences to unbelievable feats, these stories will leave you amazed. So sit back, relax, and enjoy. 15 ancient technologies that science cannot explain. When you do a Google search on unexplained ancient artifacts, you are led to hundreds of sites that show you puzzling things. Some are related to aliens, time travel, and paranormal activities. However, once you separate the wheat from the chaff, a few items remain. Real and very old inventions discovered by archaeologists or described in chronicles. All of them continue to deliver to scientists and historians. Not because they are alien workmanships, but because their use is unknown or their formula was misplaced. The classic examples are Greek fire and Roman concrete. Greek fire burned even underwater, and it is not known how they did it. It contributed to the Byzantine Empire's domination of the seas. On the other hand, the recipe for Roman concrete was also lost, and science has struggled unsuccessfully to establish the formula for this material. This one exceeds 2,000 years of duration in many existing works of Imperial Rome. In this video, we have selected the 15 oldest inventions, devices, and technologies that continue to amaze science. They all prove that ancient cultures did very advanced and amazing things. Before we dive deep, don't forget to subscribe to our channel and turn on notifications to keep you up to date with our updates. Number 1. Roman concrete. This is a Roman building material with the appearance of concrete that the builders of ancient Rome manufactured on site. They mixed lime mortar with volcanic ash and pebbles. It was used as a formwork material and as a filler between two walls. It has been the key to the durability of legendary works, such as the Pantheon of Agrippa. Several Roman dikes have also resisted the onslaught of the sea for more than 20 centuries thanks to this concrete unknown recipe. The Fabricius Bridge over the Tiber River is still intact, while modern concrete constructions are no more than 200 years old. The Roman Empire's conquest and civilization drive led it to build 85,000 kilometers of roads. In addition to countless bridges, aqueducts, ports, amphitheaters, baths, and other works. All this was possible thanks to the Roman concrete, whose exact formula has not been unraveled. Number 2. Greek fire. This was a fire that not only was not extinguished by water but was able to burn above it, even under the sea. It must have been the technology most coveted by the powers that rivaled the Byzantine Empire. This infernal fire was shot from one ship to another and burned the enemy ship and its crew. It is called Greek because its invention is attributed to a Byzantine Greek inventor of the 7th century. It is also known as the Roman Marine War fire. Its use helped the Eastern Roman Empire to dominate the Eastern Mediterranean, although it was also used on land. The Byzantines launched it in the form of an incendiary liquid by means of pressurized siphons. The European Crusaders were so stupefied when they learned of it that they attributed it to witchcraft. It was the military secret best kept by the Byzantines, and the recipe was lost without ever being known. It was speculated that it contained petroleum, sulfur, lime, and saltpeter. In 2002, National Geographic obtained a version mixing petroleum and pine resin. Number 3. Damascus steel. Almost 1,000 years after its invention, steel specialists are still debating the technique used to make Damascus steel. It was a time when the facilities for sharpening a sword were not plentiful. Much less on the battlefields, where it was important that the weapon never lost its edge. This fact gave a formidable advantage. It was crystal steel made in the Middle East and named after the capital of the Umayyad Caliphate. Swords made of the material became famous in Europe for their almost eternal sharpness, flexibility, and great hardness. These swords were manufactured between the 10th and 18th centuries. The Crusaders were very impressed when they saw that they could cut a piece of silk in the air. It also allowed opening a rock without losing its edge, as well as bending 90 degrees. Modern metallurgy, with all its progress, has not been able to establish the formula for the manufacture of Damascus steel. The little that is known is that the carbides precipitated, forming bands of microparticles, giving the blades their characteristics of hardness and flexibility. Number 4. Antikythera mechanism. In 1901, some sea sponge fishermen were caught in a storm and took refuge on the Greek island of Antikythera. Once there, they decided to try their luck with their fishing, but forgot about the sponges when they found a ship at the bottom. In addition to a treasure trove of coins, they found an even more valuable object. It was the gear mechanism that has intrigued scientists for over 120 years. The bronze piece had so many gears and teeth on each wheel that it seemed impossible that it could have been built in 87 BC. The Antikythera mechanism is called the first analog computer in history. Research throughout the 20th and 21st centuries have established that it was used to track the movements of celestial bodies and predict eclipses. It has not been fully unraveled, as it is not complete, and it is believed that some of its pieces are still at the bottom of the sea. Number 5. Delhi stainless iron pillar. In Delhi, India, there is an iron pillar more than 1,600 years old that has amazed specialists for centuries. It has a height of 7.2 meters and a diameter of 41 centimeters at its base. It also tapers to the top. It is an excellent testimony of the iron and steel history and evidence of the high level of mastery and sophistication reached by the ancient Indian metallurgists, particularly in iron smelting. Its main characteristic is that it is not affected by the relentless phenomenon of oxidation, despite having been exposed to the elements for 16 centuries. The absence of corrosion is attributed to the unusual purity of the constituent material. It is equivalent to 98% metallic iron. In addition to the formation of a protective layer of low porosity over more than a millennium and a half. The Iron Pillar of Delhi was declared a World Heritage Site, and had to be protected. It was placed with a low fence from the superstitious fervor and the sweating and breathing of visitors, who embraced it to capture its good energy. Number 6. Zhang Heng's seismograph. The first apparatus for detecting earthquakes was a dull golden metal vessel ornamented externally with dragons and guarded by toads arranged around it. It was invented in 132 AD by the multifaceted Chinese Zhang Heng, who also created a telescope and was also a painter and writer. The Chinese imperial court was stunned when he presented his invention that could detect earthquakes so distant that no one located closer to the epicenters could even feel them. It was an ingenious and sympathetic device in the shape of a vase with a series of bronze dragon heads on its outer wall. The dragons had their mouths partially downward, and inside them were small spheres also made of bronze. Earth disturbances caused the balls to come out of the dragon's mouth and fall into the toad's mouth. Depending on the location around the vase and which toad-dragon pair had passed the ball, the approximate direction of the earthquake was known. Number 7. Ulfbert swords. So are called about 170 swords from between the 9th and 11th centuries found in Europe. It presents the inscription of plus Weber plus T or plus Weber plus or slight variations of this. Over time the word Ulfbert became a kind of trademark. It was engraved on weapons for several centuries by Frankish warriors. They were manufactured during the transition period between the Viking sword and the one used by knights during the High Middle Ages. They are considered the initiators of the medieval tradition of making inscriptions on the blades of weapons. When the pieces were found, specialists were surprised by the purity of the metal. The manufacturing technology was thought to have been available in Europe only 8 centuries after the weapons were dated. It is believed that they may have been manufactured by the Vikings. They learned the technique from metallurgists and blacksmiths who knew the production and forging of Damascus steel. In 2014 was found an inscription with many relations to these swords was in a Viking tomb of the 9th century. Specifically, it was found on the Scandinavian peninsula. This inscription has been considered a possible link between the Viking era and the early Islamic world that would have reached at least as far as sword-making technology. Number 8. Festo disc. This is a late Bronze Age clay disc that was engraved on both sides. It was engraved with graphic type stamps in relief on the soft material, and then hardened by firing. It was found in 1908 by the Italian archaeologist Luigi Pernia in the Minoan Palace of Festos, in southern Crete. Its spiral printed text has not been deciphered and remains one of the great mysteries of archaeology. The piece is exhibited in the Cretan Museum of Heraklion. It was not engraved in either of the 2 scripts known from that period. Some experts attribute to it a non-Cretan provenance, possibly from the Cycladic people who developed between 3300 and 2100 BC. The text contains 61 terms written with the 45 symbols of the strange alphabet, and it is not even known if it should be read from the outside or the other way around. Number 9. Roman dodecahedra. They have been found all over Europe and were built between the 2nd and 3rd centuries AD. Specifically during the time of Imperial Rome, although the Roman chronicles do not mention them. They are hollow polyhedrons of 12 faces with a large circular hole in each one. These holes are of different sizes and the objects have a kind of cut leg or handle at each vertex. About 100 have been found all over Europe, especially in France, Germany, Italy, Spain, Hungary, and Wales. Most are made of bronze, although some are made of thin stone slabs. An icosahedron was also found. A 20-sided polygon with the same characteristics. It is not known what their use was, and it has been speculated that they could have been candlesticks, since traces of wax were found inside one of them. Other speculations of use point to a water pipe calibrator, a multi-base to hold the Roman eagle or other standards of the empire, a divination device, or a religious artifact. Number 10. Costa Rican stone spheres. Scientists established that these huge stone balls were patiently carved by the natives living in present-day Costa Rica. Specifically during the millennium between the 6th century AD and the time of the Spanish conquest. However, they do not know what they were made for. It will probably never be known. Among other things because vandalism moved several of their original locations, making it very difficult to evaluate theories that relate them to calendrics and navigation. Even gullible hooligans blew up some stones with the illusion of finding gold or something else valuable inside. The set is made up of more than 500 spheres of different diameters, sculpted by the Diques culture in the plain of the delta of the river of the same name in southern Costa Rica. What is most surprising is the spherical perfection of the stones, considering the technologies available at the time. Likewise, the balls are organized in an abstract manner, far from any natural arrangement model. The smallest ones are only a few centimeters and the largest ones exceed 2.5 meters. Number 11. Voynich manuscript. It was discovered in 1902 by the American antiquarian book dealer Wilfred M. Voynich. He bought for almost nothing in the library of an Italian Jesuit school a rare illustrated book with drawings and incomprehensible texts, all handmade. He had no doubt that one of his relations could decipher it and indicate some value, but to this day neither the alphabet nor the language nor the author is known. Carbon-14 made it possible to date the elaboration parchment between the years 1404 and 1438. One of the hypotheses is that Voynich used some ancient pieces of leather to write the book and sell it as an antique. Other versions point out that because of its written and illustrative style it was produced in the 15th century in Central Europe. It is said that Rudolf II of Habsburg, Emperor of the Holy Roman Empire, between 1576 and 1612 paid 600 gold ducats for the manuscript. It has been analyzed by cryptographers and linguists from all over the world, and it has been concluded that it is a sophisticated cipher, an unknown dialect or a blatant hoax. Number 12. Lycurgus Cup. This cup is the only object of the Roman Empire made of dichroic glass that remains. It is a material that has the property of dividing a monochromatic beam of light into several aces of different wavelengths and colors. The 4th century glass adopts a green color when illuminated from the front, changing to red if illuminated from behind. It is considered the most spectacular glass object of Imperial Rome. The glass body is covered by a metal cage made of figures that recreate a mythological episode. It is also the only cage glass with well-preserved figurative art. The history of the piece is unknown until the mid-19th century, when it was purchased by the wealthy European Rothschild dynasty. In 1858 it was sold for £20,000 to the British Museum, where it is on display. Number 13. The Eolipile. This ancient device was the first steam engine in history. It is believed that it was only used as a toy. Water was heated in a chamber and the steam was transported by pipes to a sphere enclosed except for two curved tubes located at opposite points. The force of the steam made the sphere rotate by Newton's third law, principle of action and reaction. It was designed in the 1st century by Heron of Alexandria, a Greek mathematician and engineer considered the greatest experimenter of antiquity. Although many of his texts and designs were lost, he also built the first windmill and established the formula that bears his name to calculate the area of a triangle knowing only the lengths of its sides. This artifact spun very fast thanks to the narrowness of the tubes, amusing people, especially children. For this reason, Heron of Alexandria was nicknamed the Magician. Heron also described the water organ and the odometer, one of the oldest devices for calculating distances. Number 14. The Lens of Nimrud. It is a piece of rock crystal 38 mm in diameter and 6 mm thick that is more than 3,000 years old. It is preserved in the British Museum. It was discovered in 1850 by a British traveller, archaeologist, diplomat, and collector. The carved piece was discovered in 1850 by archaeologist Austin Henry Layard in Nimrud, the ancient Assyrian capital. It is located along the Tigris River, about 30 kilometers southeast of Mosul in present-day Iraq. It was found in the northwestern palace of the Assyrian Emperor Ashurnapal II. The Nimrud lens, according to some experts, could have been used for astronomical purposes as part of a telescope. Other experts claim that it must have been used as a magnifying glass or as an apparatus for projecting the sun's rays. Number 15. Baghdad Battery. In 1936, workers of the Railway Company of Iraq found near Baghdad some strange clay vessels. These had inside them a copper cylinder fixed with asphalt and inside it a protruding iron rod. The objects were dated to the 3rd century. They were later identified as possible electric batteries. Subsequently, the device was related to other similar devices found in Mesopotamia. The specialists wondered if they would have been used 1800 years ago to connect them in series, and thus generate an electric current of a certain voltage from an electrolyte. In the mid-20th century, William, a General Electric engineer, made a duplicate of the supposed Baghdad battery. He filled it with copper sulfate, achieving a current of 2 volts. Specialists believe that the ancient Iraqis may have used grape juice or other electrolytic liquid available at the time. With this, they were able to build an electric battery long before it was invented in the late 18th century. Which of these ancient inventions did you find most surprising? Do you think our civilization is the most advanced in history? Or that in the past there were very advanced cultures whose evidence was lost? We hope this video has been useful. If you have something to add, please share it with us in the comments section. Like this video and send the link to your family and best friends, so they also know more about the 15 ancient technologies that science can't explain. If you are new to our channel, don't forget to subscribe. We'll be back soon with more curiosities from history.